The paramedic held up my pill organizer and stared at me. "Ma'am," he said slowly, "who prepared this?" I was lying on my own living room floor, still dizzy, my chest tight, my heart monitor screaming in the background. "My son-in-law," I whispered. "Why?" He turned the plastic box so I could see, each tiny compartment crammed full. "If you had taken all of this today," he said, eyes hard, "you wouldn't be talking to me right now." In that moment, something inside me went colder than the tiles under my back. Because for months, I had believed I was just getting old. I thought the dizziness, the confusion, the memory gaps, were my body giving up. I never imagined it was my daughter's husband, trying to help my heart stop just a little bit faster. My name is Margaret. I'm 71 years old. And this is how my own son-in-law tried to poison me slowly, with my own medicine. And how I pretended to get weaker so I could catch him. I wasn't always this fragile. Once upon a time, I was the nurse everyone called when things went wrong. For 38 years, I worked on the cardiac floor of the same hospital. I knew every beep, every alarm. I could tell when a heart rhythm was bad just by the look on the monitor. I raised my daughter, Sophie, alone after her father left when she was 3. I worked nights, I worked holidays, I took every extra shift so she could go to the good schools, have the good shoes, the right books. I thought if I did everything right, life would be kind to her. When she brought home Michael from college, she was glowing. He was handsome, charming, polite. The kind of young man who brought flowers the first time he came to dinner and called me Mrs. Brown, with a little nervous laugh. He studied business. Sophie studied social work. She said they were perfect opposites. At their wedding, he hugged me and whispered, "Thank you for giving me your daughter, Mrs. Brown. I'll take good care of her. And of you too, one day." I believed him. Years passed. They bought a house in the suburbs, had a little boy, Leo. I babysat when my shifts allowed. I became Grandma Maggie, the one who always had cookies and Band-Aids. I had my first heart attack at 68. I was at the grocery store, comparing prices on tomatoes, when a pain clamped down on my chest so hard I dropped the can in my hand. The next thing I knew, I was in the back of an ambulance, watching shops and trees blur past under sirens and flashing lights. Stents. Pills. A cardiologist. A long conversation that began with, "You can't do 12-hour shifts anymore." I sold the little house I'd bought with so much effort. My knees couldn't take the stairs. My savings were decent, my pension stable, but I couldn't live entirely alone safely again. "Move in with us," Sophie said, squeezing my hand. "We have the guest room on the first floor. You'll be close to Leo. You're not a burden, Mom. You're family." Michael smiled behind her. "Of course," he added. "It's time we take care of you for a change." I told myself I was lucky. I had no idea what I was stepping into. At first, it was sweet. They painted the guest room my favorite pale blue. Leo drew a big crayon sign for the door, "Grandma's room." Sophie bought new sheets and a quilt with little flowers on it. The first mornings, I woke up to coffee already made and Leo jumping on my bed. "Grandma, Grandma, wake up." Sophie would leave for work, kissing me on the head. "Don't do too much," she'd say. "Rest." Michael worked from home, most days, he said. I'd hear his voice from his small home office, loud on conference calls, full of big words, leverage, liquidation, ROI. He was the one who insisted on organizing my medication. "Let me take care of this, Margaret," he said the first week, gathering the white pharmacy bags from the counter. "All those small pills, it's too much. We don't want you to get confused." I hesitated. The nurse in me hated the idea. I'd spent a career teaching patients to understand their meds, not hand them over blindly. But the tired, grateful part, the one that had almost died next to the canned tomatoes, won. "All right," I said. "But I want to see the labels. And I'll go over them with Dr. Patel at my next appointment." "Of course," he smiled. "We're on the same team." He bought a big plastic pill organizer, the kind with colorful boxes labeled Monday, Tuesday, morning, noon, night. He stood at the kitchen table one Sunday afternoon, filling each compartment carefully. This one's your blood thinner, he explained, holding up a small white tablet. This one's for your blood pressure. This is the beta blocker, right? I blinked. So you looked them up? I asked. I Googled, yeah, he shrugged, almost offended I'd question it. I'm not stupid, Margaret. I let it go. Maybe I shouldn't have. The first time I blamed myself for forgetting, it was a Wednesday. I was in the living room, folding laundry, when my vision blurred. The room tilted. My heart raced and then slowed in an odd out-of-sync way. I grabbed onto the back of the sofa. Mom. Sophie called from the hallway. You okay? I'm just dizzy, I managed. Maybe I stood up too fast. Michael appeared at the doorway, eyebrows knit. Did you take your noon pills? He asked. I froze. Had I? I usually did. But I'd been playing with Leo, then washing dishes, then folding shirts. I think so, I said. He sighed. Mom, this is why I told you, let me manage it. You can't miss doses, it's dangerous. Guilt washed over me. That night, he came to my room with the organizer. See. We'll check together, he said, his tone patient but with something sharp underneath. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Look. Noon box is still full. He was right. See, he repeated. You forgot. It's not your fault, but this is exactly what the doctor warned about. Let me help you. Please. From then on, he hovered. Don't worry about the little box, he'd say. I'll bring your doses to you with your meals. That way we know you took them. He'd arrive at my bedroom door at 8 a.m. with a glass of water and a little plastic cup. Here, morning meds. At noon. Here, lunchtime meds. Swallow all of them, I'll watch. At night. Here, last pills of the day. Let's not have another scare. I started to feel smaller. Less like an adult, more like a child. Every time I hesitated or asked what something was, I could see it in his eyes. That flash of impatience. You worked in a hospital, Margaret, he'd say. You know better than anyone what happens when people don't follow orders. He was right. Wasn't he? The symptoms crept in slowly. At first, it was just dizziness once or twice a week. I told myself that was normal. Heart patients get dizzy. Then I started waking in the night drenched in sweat, heart pounding. Sometimes I'd be watching television and the room would shrink, my ears would ring, my vision would narrow to a tunnel. It passed, but left me shaken and exhausted. My hands trembled when I tried to hold my teacup. My legs felt heavy on the stairs. I began to forget small things. A name. What day the trash went out. Where I'd put my glasses. Mom, you put them in the fridge, Sophie laughed one afternoon, holding up the glasses next to the milk. You're going to drive us crazy. I laughed too, but it died in my throat. At my next appointment, I tried to tell Dr. Patel. I just don't feel right, I said, sitting on the exam table in the thin paper gown. The spells are getting worse. The dizziness, the fuzziness. She frowned, flipping through my chart. Your labs are stable, she said. EKGs look okay. Blood pressure's fine today. Michael leaned forward in the chair in the corner. She forgets her pills a lot, he said. I've been trying to help, but sometimes she argues or says she's taken them when she hasn't. That wasn't quite true. I only argued a few times, I said. When I thought. You see, he cut in with a small, sad laugh. She doesn't remember. Sometimes she repeats the same story 2 or 3 times a day. We're a little worried about her memory. Dr. Patel looked at me gently. Margaret, that can happen after a cardiac event. Some minor cognitive changes are not unusual at your age. The important thing is, you're safe, you have family support, and we're monitoring closely. I wanted to protest. To say, my mind was sharp my whole life. I was the one who noticed things. Instead, I nodded. Because what if I really was slipping? What if the problem was me? The first real crack in the story appeared at the pharmacy. It was a Tuesday, and for once Michael was too busy to go. He threw the prescription bag on the kitchen table. "Can you just pick it up, Margaret?" he asked. "It's close. I've got this Zoom thing I can't move." I took my coat and shuffled down the block. Mrs. Brown, Rosa, the head pharmacist, smiled when she saw me. She'd known me for years, first as a nurse filling discharge scripts, then as a customer picking up my own pills. "I haven't seen you in a while," she said, scanning the barcode. "How are you feeling?" "A bit off," I confessed. "But these are supposed to keep me going, right?" She looked down at the prescription, then back at the computer. Her brow creased. "Huh," she murmured. "What is it?" I asked. "Nothing, just, looks like your refill was picked up a bit early last time," she said carefully. "I thought maybe the doctor adjusted the dose, but there's nothing in the system." "Early?" I frowned. "By how much?" "Oh, just a few days," she waved it off. "Could be normal if you missed some and then caught up." Never mind my rambling. Force of habit. But the nurse in me jumped awake. Heart medications aren't like vitamins. You don't just catch up on them. Still, I smiled and took the bag. On the way home, I noticed my hands were shaking. That night, when Michael brought my little cup of pills, I looked at them more closely. The shapes were right. The colors, too. White oval, yellow round, small blue. "Open, Mom," he said, voice light but eyes fixed. I swallowed. If you're still here listening, and you think something might be off in your own life or in the life of someone older you love, don't just brush that feeling away. Like this video so more people hear stories like this, and subscribe if you want to know how this ends, because the moment I stopped trusting blindly was the moment everything changed. The next big clue came from my own body. One Saturday, Sophie took Leo to a birthday party, and Michael went to a meeting. At least that's what he said. He'd left my morning pills on the bedside table before he went. But I'd been in the bathroom when he knocked, and by the time I got out, Leo needed help finding his shoe. Then Sophie called from the car. The pills sat there, forgotten. It wasn't until after lunch that I noticed the little plastic cup still on the table. Normally, panic would have flared. Oh, I missed a dose. But that day, something inside me hesitated. What happens if I don't take them? I shouldn't have thought that way. I spent my career yelling at patients who skipped their meds. Yet, I also spent my career watching very closely how bodies responded to drugs. My hand hovered over the cup. For once, I decided I was going to be my own nurse again. I left them there. The strangest thing happened. I felt better. Not perfect. My knees still hurt. My heart still sometimes skipped. But that heavy fog that had settled over my brain lifted a little. I wasn't dizzy when I stood up. I could walk from the bedroom to the kitchen without feeling like I'd run a marathon. By evening, I caught myself humming while chopping vegetables. When Michael came home, he looked surprised to find me standing at the stove. "Should you be doing that?" he asked. "You look energetic." "I feel good today," I smiled. "Really good, actually. It's strange." He glanced at the bedside table and his smile tightened. "Did you take your meds?" he asked. I froze. "I think so," I lied. His eyes narrowed. "Mom," he said, voice dropping into that patient with child tone. "We talked about this. You can't play games with doses. You scared us once. Don't do it again." Guilt washed over me. I muttered an apology. That night, while he watched television, I took the little plastic cup from my room to the bathroom and flushed the pills one by one. They swirled away like tiny, deadly secrets. The next week, at my follow-up, Dr. Patel was puzzled. "Blood pressure's actually on the low side today," she said. Heart rate is a bit slow. She looked at me. Any new side effects? I thought about the forgotten doses. The energy. I've felt a bit more clear, I admitted. Less dizzy. Michael shifted in his chair. It's because we've been making sure she doesn't forget, he said quickly. No more missed doses, right, Margaret? He chuckled lightly. I looked at him. I'd known him for almost 20 years. For the first time, I noticed how his smile didn't always reach his eyes. Dr. Patel didn't seem convinced. I'm going to adjust the beta blocker down slightly, she said, writing. You may be a little sensitive to this dose. Michael nodded. Whatever you say, doctor. On the way home, he was quiet. That night, he came into my room with my organizer. Dr. Patel changed the dose, I said. We can. I know, he cut in. I was there. He set down the box and looked at me for a long moment. Margaret, can I be honest? He asked. I nodded. I'm trying so hard here, he said. Sophie is exhausted. Leo needs her. My job is stressful. And on top of it all, I'm managing your meds, your appointments, your moods. Moods. I'm not ungrateful, I said softly. He sighed dramatically. It's just, if you don't want my help, say it. If you want to risk another heart attack because you forgot your pills again, say it. Then it's on you. Shame burned my throat. I appreciate you, I whispered. I really do. He patted my hand. Good, he said. Then let me do what's best. He smiled. But that night, when I closed my bedroom door, I slid the latch quietly. For the first time since moving into my daughter's house, I didn't feel safe. I started paying attention like a nurse again. Every morning and night, when Michael brought my pills, I memorized the shapes, the colors. I listened for the little clack of the organizer lid. I noticed he always held it turned slightly away from me. One afternoon, when he left it open on the kitchen table for a moment to grab his phone, I slid into the chair like a thief. Monday morning, one small white tablet, one yellow, one blue. Tuesday morning, same. Wednesday morning, two white, one yellow, one blue. My heart pounded. With my training, I knew exactly what that meant. A significantly higher dose of the blood pressure med enough to cause dizziness, fainting, dangerous drops. Thursday, 3 white. Friday, 3. Dad, where's my math homework? Leo shouted from down the hall. I snapped the organizer closed and backed away. My chest constricted, but not from my heart this time. Something was deeply wrong. I needed proof. Rosa, the pharmacist, almost dropped the bottle when she saw what I showed her. I'd brought in my organizer, under the pretense of needing help sorting. I'm getting confused, I told her. Can you make sure I'm doing it right? She sat me down in a little consultation room behind the counter and opened the lids one by one. Mrs. Brown, she said slowly. Who filled this? My son-in-law, I replied, watching her face. She took a deep breath. Your prescription from Dr. Patel says, 1 tablet of this per day, she said, pointing to the white pill. You have 3 in several of these slots. And what happens if someone takes 3? I asked, though I already knew. For someone your age, with your heart history, she said quietly, it could cause serious hypotension, fainting. In extreme cases, cardiac arrest. My stomach dropped. Could it look natural? I whispered. Like someone's heart just gave out? Rosa spoke carefully. In an older patient with heart disease, yes. Very easily. We sat in silence for a moment. Do you think I'm paranoid? I asked finally. She met my eyes. I think, she said, that you should only let a doctor or a licensed nurse manage your medications. And I think you should talk to Dr. Patel. Today. She stood. I'll print out your medication list with the correct doses, she added. And Mrs. Brown. Yes. Don't confront him alone. Not yet. I didn't go home. I went straight to the hospital. I knew the back entrance like the lines on my own hands. I slipped in, nodded at a few familiar nurses who did a double take. Margaret? Is that you? And rode the elevator to cardiology. Dr. Patel listened, her face growing grimmer with every sentence. When I finished, she took the organizer from my bag and examined it. This, she said quietly, is absolutely not what I prescribed. How long would it take? I asked. If someone increased it slowly? She leaned back. If they started with a slightly higher dose, your body might adjust for a while, she explained. You'd feel more tired, more dizzy. We might blame the heart itself. And then one day, she said softly, you'd fall, or not wake up, or arrive here and we'd shrug and say, her heart was weak. It was her time. She set the box down carefully, as if it was something venomous. Who controls your pills? She asked. My son-in-law, I replied. She exhaled. Margaret, she said, I can't accuse anyone without clear evidence. But I can do two things. First, I'm writing in your chart that you are to manage your own medications, and no changes without my direct orders. Second, if you'd like, I can refer you to someone who knows how to handle situations like this. Discreetly. Who? I asked. A lawyer, she said. And a social worker. We've seen this before, even if people don't talk about it. My heart broke a little more. I'd spent my life mending hearts. I never thought mine would need mending from my own family. I didn't go back to Sophie's that night. I called her from the hospital cafeteria. Mom. Where are you? She answered, sounding frazzled. Michael said you went for a walk and didn't come back. I'm at the hospital, I said. Don't panic. I'm fine. I just needed to talk to Dr. Patel about some things. Without telling us, she snapped. Do you have any idea how that makes us feel? Do you have any idea how almost dying makes me feel? I wanted to say. Instead, I swallowed. I'll be home in the morning, I told her. There are some things we need to talk about. All of us. Together. She sighed. Fine, she said. Just text me when you're leaving. I spent the night in the on-call room. Old friends snuck me extra blankets and tea. I lay there, eyes open, listening to the familiar distant beeps and code calls, my mind racing. I had part of the puzzle. I needed the rest. Why? Why would Michael want me gone? The answer came from a man named Harris. He was a lawyer, grey-haired and dry-humored, recommended by the hospital social worker. He sat with me in a small office with a fake plant in the corner. I've seen it too many times, he said. Elderly person with a house, a pension, maybe some savings. They get sick, move in with family, and suddenly, accidents start happening. Do you think I'm overreacting? I asked. He looked at the medication list, the organizer photos, Rosa's notes. I think, he said, you're lucky you were a nurse. He tapped his pen on the table. Now, Margaret, I need to ask, what do your finances look like? I told him. House. Sold. Money in savings and investments. Pension. Steady. Life insurance. Modest, but existent. And your will? He asked. I left everything split between Sophie and Leo, I said. Michael isn't in it directly. He nodded slowly. Have you ever signed anything giving Michael any legal authority over your health or finances? No, I said firmly. Absolutely not. That helps, he murmured. He leaned forward. Here's what we do, he said. You go back home. You act as normal as possible. You do not confront him. You pretend to be as dependent as before. Meanwhile, I'll run a background check. Debts. Liens. Business filings. If he's in financial trouble, that strengthens our case. And the meds? I asked. For now, he said, You don't take anything he gives you. He slid a card across the table. You pick up your prescriptions yourself. You control your pills. We can even have them pre-sorted at the pharmacy if needed. But as long as you're under their roof, act like you're taking whatever he hands you. Smile, nod, and flush them later. My old nurse self recoiled at the idea of pretending with medicine. But the woman in me who'd seen death too many times knew. If I didn't play along carefully, I might not get another chance. Going back into that house felt like stepping onto a stage. "Mom!" Sophie cried when I walked in. "You scared us." Michael stood behind her, arms crossed, jaw tight. "Why didn't you call me?" he asked. "I always come with you to your appointments." "I didn't want to bother you," I said, forcing a weak smile. "Dr. Patel just wanted to check some things. Old woman stuff." I even chuckled. He studied me. "You look tired," he said finally. "Go rest. I'll bring your pills in a bit." I nodded and shuffled to my room, making my steps slower than they felt. Once inside, I locked the door quietly. He knocked 10 minutes later. "Mom, pills." I opened, took the little cup from his hand, and smiled gratefully. "Thank you," I said, raising it to my lips. He watched me. I tilted my head back, let the pills touch my tongue, and kept them there, pressed like a secret between my cheek and gum. When he left, satisfied, I spat them into a tissue and flushed them. I did that twice a day, every day for a week. Each day, I felt stronger. Each day, my anger grew. Harris called on Friday. "Margaret," he said, "are you sitting down?" "Yes." "Your son-in-law," he said, "is drowning." Michael's startup was failing. Credit cards maxed. 2 personal loans. A line of credit on his and Sophie's house. And 3 months ago, Harris added, he took out a new life insurance policy. "On you." My blood ran cold. "On me." I repeated. "Yes. Not huge, but significant. And he's the primary beneficiary. Sophie is listed as contingent, but the application shows him as your primary caregiver." I could almost hear my heart pounding over the phone. "How is that even allowed?" I whispered. "Insurance companies will sell policies on anyone with enough paperwork," he said dryly. "Especially if they think they'll reach natural end of life soon. You had a recent heart attack. On paper, you're a risk." He paused. "He's desperate, Margaret," he said. "And desperate people do stupid, dangerous things." I took a shuddering breath. "What do we do?" I asked. "We let him dig the hole a little deeper," Harris said. "But on our terms, with witnesses. You're a nurse. You know investigations. Are you up for one last, undercover job?" Something inside me, the woman who'd walked hospital corridors for decades, straightened her shoulders. "Yes," I said. "I am." For the next 2 weeks, I became 2 people. On the surface, I was fragile Grandma Margaret again. A little dizzy, a little forgetful, grateful for every glass of water and little plastic cup of pills. Underneath, I was wide awake. Every time Michael refilled the organizer at the table, I watched from the kitchen doorway, invisible in my slippers. I noted which slots he topped off, with extra white tablets. I wrote it all down in a spiral notebook I'd hidden inside an old knitting basket. I slipped my phone onto the shelf above the table when he worked, pretending to water the plant. The camera recorded his careful hands dropping extra doses. I spilled a cup of tea once and had to change my nightgown. While he fetched towels, I snapped quick photos of the inside of one day's lids. I befriended the neighbor, Linda, a retired teacher who walked a dog past our house every morning. Over tea, I confided in her. "Just enough. I'm worried about my meds," I said. "Can you do me a favor? Every day at 10, around your walk, can you call my phone? If I don't answer, just ring again. I'm setting it as a little alarm." She frowned but agreed. I also went back to Rosa and Dr. Patel regularly with updates. We became a quiet trio of women, discreetly building a case. The more I pretended to weaken, the more careless he became. One night, I forgot my cane in the kitchen. He sighed loudly when he saw me walking back slowly. "At this pace, you'll break your neck," he muttered. "Maybe it would be kinder." He stopped, catching himself, and forced a smile. "You know I'm joking, right, Mom?" he said. I smiled back. I'd learned something as a nurse. Always let people keep talking. They hang themselves with their own words. We set the trap on a Wednesday. "Mom," Michael said that morning, knocking on my door. "Sophie and I were talking. We think it's time we help you more officially. Maybe power of attorney. It's just paperwork. To protect you." There it was. He thought the life insurance and pills weren't enough. He wanted legal control too. "Of course," I said, widening my eyes. "If you think it's best. I trust you, Michael." He smiled. Later, I texted Harris. "He wants power of attorney. Today." Harris replied, "Perfect. Invite him to go to your bank to notarize it. I'll handle the rest." I told Michael I'd feel safer signing at my bank branch downtown, where they knew me. He agreed easily. "I'll drive," he said. "We'll take care of everything." "Should I call Sophie?" I asked. "No need to bother her," he replied. "She trusts me to handle this." Good, I thought. So do the police. The bank branch was quiet, cool, the air smelling like paper and printer ink. We sat at a small desk with a plaque, "Cynthia, Customer Service." But today, Cynthia wasn't behind it. Harris was. He wore a nice suit and a neutral expression. "Mrs. Brown," he said, standing, shaking my hand. "Mr. Brown," he added, turning to Michael. "It's Hale," Michael corrected automatically. "I'm her son-in-law." "My apologies," Harris smiled. "Please, sit." Michael glanced around. "Where's Cynthia?" he asked. "Oh, she's off today," Harris said smoothly. "I cover legal documentation sometimes. Let's see what we have." He pulled out a folder. Inside, on top, was a stack of papers with the words "durable power of attorney" on them. Michael relaxed. "That's the one," he said. "We just need Mom to sign so we can manage her assets and decisions if something happens." "Of course," Harris nodded. "Now, Margaret, before you sign anything, I have to ask. Do you understand what this means?" "Yes," I said, voice steady. "It means I give Michael full control over my finances and health decisions. He'll be able to decide my treatments, sell any property I own, access my accounts." Michael nodded eagerly. "Exactly," he said. "It's just protection." She agreed at home. "And you trust him completely?" Harris asked me. I looked at Michael. I let the silence stretch. Then I smiled. "No," I said. "I don't." Michael's head snapped toward me. "What?" he said, laughing nervously. "Very funny, Mom." Harris closed the folder calmly. "Then I would advise you not to sign, Mrs. Brown," he said. "Especially not for someone who has been slowly increasing your medication doses without your doctor's consent." Michael froze. I don't know what you're talking about," he stammered. "This is ridiculous. I've been taking care of her. Ask anyone." "I did," Harris said. "Her pharmacist, her cardiologist, her neighbor, and your creditors." He slid a second set of documents from the folder. Printed credit reports, bank statements, the insurance policy application with Michael's signature. "You've taken out multiple loans in the last year, Mr. Hale. Defaulted on one. And 3 months ago, you bought a life insurance policy on your mother-in-law, listing yourself as primary beneficiary." Michael's face drained of color. "That's normal," he spat. "Families do that. And you've been preparing her medications like this," came a new voice. Dr. Patel stepped forward from behind a glass partition, holding up a photo of my pill organizer with triple doses. At the same moment, 2 uniformed police officers appeared near the entrance. Rosa, in her white pharmacy coat, stood just behind them. "This is entrapment," Michael snapped, standing so quickly his chair tipped. "You can't do this. She's crazy. She doesn't remember anything." "Actually," I said quietly, "I remember everything." I reached into my purse and took out my phone. On the screen, I opened a video. Michael at the kitchen table, head bent, carefully adding extra pills to each compartment. His own voice filled the quiet bank. "She'll never notice. She already forgets. One day she just won't wake up. It'll be natural." I watched his face as he heard himself. The police stepped forward. "Michael Hale," one of them said, "you're under arrest on suspicion of attempted homicide, elder abuse, and fraud." He spun. "Mom. Sophie. Somebody," he shouted. But Sophie wasn't there. Not yet. She was at home, waiting for a very different conversation. The next part still hurts to remember. Because exposing a stranger is one thing. Exposing your daughter's husband in front of her is another. We met at the house that evening. Harris was with me. Dr. Patel insisted to come, too. Sophie sat on the sofa, pale, clutching a tissue. "What is going on?" she asked as soon as we walked in. "Michael called me from some station saying you'd all gone crazy. That you'd set him up." I sat down across from her. "Sophie," I said, "for the sake of our relationship, I need you to listen. All the way. No interrupting." She opened her mouth, then closed it. I told her everything. The dizziness. The forgotten pill that made me feel better. The extra tablets in the organizer. Rosa's concerns. The changed doses Dr. Patel never ordered. The insurance policy. The attempted power of attorney. Halfway through, she covered her mouth with her hand. "No," she whispered. He takes care of us. He's been under so much stress. You don't understand." "Stress doesn't explain this," Dr. Patel said gently, placing the photos on the coffee table. "This is not a mistake, Sophie. This is a pattern." Harris added the bank statements. Rosa described his dismissive attitude at the pharmacy when she'd asked about early refills. At last, I showed her the video. Her husband, in their kitchen, calmly describing my death like a business plan. Something in Sophie's eyes shattered. She stood up so suddenly her glass tipped over, water spilling. "I let him do everything," she whispered. "The finances, the bills, your meds. I thought he was being helpful." "You trusted your husband," I said. "That's not a crime." She looked at me, tears streaming. "I didn't trust you," she said. "You kept saying something was off. You tried to talk to me, and I told you you were overreacting, that it was just aging. I chose him over you." She sank back onto the sofa. "I put you in danger," she whispered. I moved to sit beside her and took her hand. "No," I said softly. "He did. He made the choices. He poured the pills." She cried like the child I'd once rocked after nightmares. We stayed like that for a long time. Eventually, she wiped her eyes. "What happens to him now?" she asked. "He'll have his day in court," Harris said. "He's innocent until proven guilty. But the evidence is strong. Very strong. And Leo," she whispered. "Our son. Leo," I said, "will still have his mother. And his grandmother. And a house without poison in the kitchen." She looked at me. Will you stay?" she asked. "Here. This house. With us. I don't know if I can do this alone." I took a deep breath. "I will help you," I said. "But I'm not living under the same roof again. Not now. Not yet. I need my own space. My own locks. My own pillbox." Hurt flashed in her eyes, but she nodded. "I understand," she said. "I don't deserve more than that." "It's not about deserving," I replied. It's about what we can handle while we heal. The trial took almost a year. Michael's lawyer tried everything. Claimed I was confused. Claimed the video was out of context. Suggested maybe I'd added extra pills myself and forgotten. But the dosage records, the refill dates, the life insurance policy, the hidden camera footage, all told the same story. The jury took less than 3 hours. Guilty of attempted murder. Guilty of elder abuse. Guilty of fraud. The judge looked at him over her glasses. "Mr. Hale," she said, "you presented yourself to this court, to this family, as a caregiver. Instead, you used intimacy and trust as weapons. In my opinion, that makes your crime especially cruel." She sentenced him to 12 years in prison, with a minimum of 8 before parole. He looked at me as they cuffed him. "Mom," he said, voice cracking. "I took care of you. You owed me." I met his gaze. "I owe you nothing," I said quietly. "But I owe the women who don't survive men like you." In the months that followed, I rebuilt my life. I rented a small apartment a few blocks from Leo's school. I bought my own pill organizer and filled it myself, in front of a mirror. I went to therapy, not because I was crazy, but because I needed to untangle 40 years of being everyone's caregiver and never my own. Sophie filed for divorce. She went back to work, this time part-time at a community clinic. "Every time I see an older person come in with a helpful relative," she told me one day over coffee, "I think of you. I ask more questions now. I don't just smile and nod." Leo started coming to my place every Wednesday after school. We baked cookies. We watched movies. Sometimes he'd ask in his small voice, "Why did Dad go away?" "Your dad made some very bad choices," I'd say. And sometimes when people hurt others, they have to go to a special place to learn why it's wrong. "Like a big timeout?" he asked. "Yes," I nodded. "A big, long timeout." One afternoon, Rosa asked if I'd speak at a small event at the pharmacy for World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. "I don't want to scare people," I said. "You won't," she replied. "You'll educate them." I told my story in front of 20 people, most older than me. Some nodded slowly. Some cried quietly. Afterward, a man with a cane approached me. "My son insists on handling my pills," he said. I thought I was being ungrateful to feel uneasy. "Now, I'm going to ask my doctor to explain every single tablet." Good, I thought. Use my fear so you don't have to feel your own. On my 72nd birthday, we celebrated at my apartment. Just the 3 of us. Me, Sophie, and Leo. They brought a cake with too many candles. "Make a wish, Grandma," Leo shouted. I closed my eyes. I didn't wish for more years, or more money, or revenge. I wished that no one would ever again ignore that cold little voice in their gut when someone helpful started taking over their life. When I opened my eyes, Sophie was looking at me. "You know what I wish," she said. "That one day when I'm your age, I can be as strong as you." I laughed. "I was not strong," I said. "I was scared. I was lucky. I had Rosa, Dr. Patel, Harris. And you had you," she replied. "The nurse who never really retired." Maybe she was right. I'd thought my life was winding down. Instead, it had shifted. I no longer spent nights on a cardiac ward. I wasn't running from code to code. Now, my work was quieter. A talk here. A support group there. A phone call with a woman whose son had just offered to take over her bank account. "Listen to me," I'd tell them. "Love your family. But read every label. Ask every question. Don't be afraid to be inconvenient. Because real love does not require blind trust. Especially when your life is on the line. If you stayed with me until the end, thank you. If you have an older parent, or you are one, pay attention to the small things. Who fills the pill box? Who refills the prescriptions? Who gets upset when you ask, 'What is this one for?' And if someone ever makes you feel crazy for questioning them, you might not be the one with the problem. If this story made you feel something, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. I'd love to know how far my voice can travel. Like this video if you believe no one is ever too old to protect themselves. Subscribe for more real stories that remind you you're never too weak, too late, or too old to survive, to fight back, and to live the rest of your life on your own terms.